we've spoken about three
Prakriti,
things.
Karan,
Karan,
Sayog.
and Sayog. Okay.
The fourth one is a little obvious, so I'm not going to put too much time into it, but it's Rashi. Rashi is basically the quantity of food that you take. I mean, that is obvious. The amount of portions that you should eat should be
Lesser.
I mean, it
Portion
doesn't have to be
control.
lesser, but it has to be in sync with what you can digest, essentially, and what your requirements are. So that is Rashi. Again, I'm not getting into that detail because that is fairly self-explanatory. The next one is Desh. Prakriti, Karan, Sanyog, Rashi, Desh. Right. So next one is Desh. Desh I will spend the maximum of my time on. Because this is why I feel that most of these nutritionists and dietitians have no clue what they're talking about. And no disrespect to them, I know a lot of them, they're all great individuals, it's just that they've not been taught. Not their fault. Again, let's take a relatable example. Okay.
What does Desh mean?
Desh means your geographical location. And when we're talking about Desh, we're normally talking about not more of weather conditions because they change, but more of climatic conditions because they are fairly constant for the particular area. Let's take a very relatable example. We'll take India. Because we live in the West. So let's take Western India as an example. Okay. So we'll start from the north and we'll start moving towards the equator. We'll start moving towards south. Okay, and we'll start just observing what kind of diets happen there. So let's start with Punjab.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of food is there in Punjab?
A lot of makke ki roti.
Makke di rotis and sarson da saag. You've heard of all of this.
They do a lot of good also.
A lot of good. All yummy food, you know. I love the
A
Punjabi
lot of
food.
buttermilk, ghee,
Lassi.
butter, lassi.
Right.
All of
So you have a lot of makke di roti, sarson da saag. Now let me ask you a very simple question. Makke di roti is extremely heavy to digest. Am I correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Heavy to digest, and yet you'll realize that people in Punjab are able to digest this. Okay, let's move a little down south. Let's start moving towards Rajasthan, right? The next state. So, what kind of a diet is there in Rajasthan?
It's more to do with lal mas. So much in Rajasthan they have.
Okay, what else?
They do have lal mas. They have a lot of jowar, bhakri.
The makke di rotis, the sarson da saag is now changed into the dal batis.
Yeah.
And so the funny thing is they don't put any ghee in the dal bati.
Mm-hmm.
They put the dal bati in the ghee. I mean the amount of ghee they use is not funny. It's yum again, but you start realizing that they come from a very dry and arid climate.
Yes.
So the maximum amount of ghee that is used probably in the world is by people there.
Yeah.
Is because they need that lubrication because they live in a dry climate. Right? So the same guy in Bombay with a 90% humidity will say, "Main Marwadi hu." Lao ghee. But we'll counter.
Yeah.
Right? So they live in a dry climate, they need that amount of ghee, but you'll also realize that food is also heavy to digest. I mean, the dal batis are not easy to digest. And we started off with parothas, right? From Punjab. We've come to rotis, but they're also not easy to digest.
Yeah.
Let's move down south a little. We'll go to Gujarat. Right? So you'll find the rotis become a little patla. But overall, the tone of the food is a little sweet. Right?
Yes.
Because sweet again is a little heavy to digest.
Yeah.
But it's still there. You're still able to digest all of these things. You're no longer having the makkas, you're on wheat now. Right? But the overall tone is a little sweet. Move down a little south to where we are, Maharashtra. Right? In Maharashtra, what kind of food is there? It's still the same, the rotis, you don't have the makkas here.
Nachni.
Yeah, correct. You'll have a little nachni, a little easy to digest things. But you'll find the overtone becomes a little spicy. Right? Like if you look at a typical Maharashtrian food, it's a little spicy. In fact, even within Maharashtra, when you go down south towards Kolhapur, you start finding that the spice levels start increasing. Correct. And that's not so much in the Konkan areas.
Yeah.
So you start relating all of these
things. A lot
things.
of coconut in the Konkan areas.
Coconut in the Konkan area, again it grows there. But also, you start realizing that spice levels will increase. In the Konkan areas, it won't be so spicy. Right? It will be still a little sour, you'll have a little kokum, you'll have a little this. But the spice levels start increasing as you move south. And the digestive capacity starts reducing as you're moving south. Because you started with makke di roti and the parothas, and now there are patli rotis and spice, because spice increases the agni, the digestive fire. Yeah. Right? Now, you're in Maharashtra, let's ignore Goa, it's too small. Let's move on to Karnataka. Right? So what kind of a diet do you find there now?
More rice.
More rice, correct. A lot of black pepper, more rice. So you start finding that you had makka, then it was wheat, then it was patla roti wala wheat, and now wheat is also not digestible. So now it's even more easy to digest meals like rice-based meals. Right? So you're realizing all of this, right? When we go down south to Kerala, you'll actually start realizing that even rice is difficult to digest in Kerala. So if you've ever been to a traditional proper Keralian restaurant, I don't know what they call it in Malayali, but in Ayurveda, in Sanskrit, it's called Shadangapani. There's a red color water that is served to you.
Yes.
You've seen it? Yeah, right. So that helps you digest that rice as well. Yeah. Things are very curry formed and a lot of spices included, especially black pepper, because that helps in digestion. Correct. So what we've observed from the makka to rice being difficult to digest is that as you move towards the equator, or essentially as you grow more tropical, your digestive capacity is reduced. Right? So your diet also needs to change. Now if a Punjabi has been living in Thiruvananthapuram for 5 years and says, "Main to Punjabi hu, lao makke di roti sarson da saag," what do you think is going to happen to that person?
Indigestion.
Precisely. What do you think will happen to the Marwadi who comes to a 95%, 90% humidity climate of Bombay and says, "I need more ghee"?
Obesity.
You need to realize, and I can guarantee you, you go to a dietitian, you know how they work? A nutritionist. You keep a piece of banana in front of them, of any food. Proteins, carbohydrates, minerals, fats, vitamins this, vitamin that, phosphorus, calcium, potassium, X, Y, Z. That's why they're called nutritionists, because they're focused on nutrition. So they will look at the nutritive values of all of these things. They don't know what it mixes with, right? They don't know whether it's digestible or not. Okay. Kya wo pachega? They don't know. Makka has so much nutrition, great.
Take it.
Up Thiruvananthapuram, you have to take it.
Yeah.
Now in Germany, Freiburg, there's a test done that raw salads are very good for you. Now Ethiopians should eat it. Even though you're next to the equator, because it was proved, scientifically proved, the two magical words. Because now that those magical words have been attached, because they were tested in Germany.
Yeah.
Now Ethiopians must have salads every day. They must. Another simple, I can go on and on, about this, and it's so stupid because when you actually think about it,
what
it
are
makes so
your
much sense.
views on avocado? Because we've had a little conversation on this in the past, and we got a lot of people telling me, because I said definitely eat avocado, but when you go down to Mexico, don't have the avocados that are coming to India because they've traveled a huge.
I always feel that we should have things that are grown locally. Having said that, I don't think it's a big problem if you're able to digest. See, understand, my whole point, the greater point that I'm trying to make is diet is a tug of war between digestion and nutrition, where digestion has to take priority over nutrition. Because if you have the best nutritive things, and if they are not digestible, you're not getting anything except toxins.
Absolutely.
You're messing your body. So the diet is basically just a tug of war between digestion and nutrition. And you have to first ensure that the digestion part is covered before you move on to the nutrition part. And this is fundamentally where all of these guys fail. Because they don't understand digestion. They literally think digestion happens because of some bacteria in the gut, and they don't understand how digestion actually works. They've been pumping probiotics because in the entire life they've been pumping antibiotics. So they need those probiotics. It doesn't work like that.
True.
Right? So this is, again, one of the points.
Yeah.
One of the points in Ayurveda
is this.
That is this. Okay.
So now we've covered, we start again. Let's do a recap for
Prakriti,
Karan,
Sanyog, Rashi,
and Desh.
Yeah. Okay, so I think there was one more point I'm forgetting that I wanted to make. I think if I remember it, I'll circle back to it. I need more Brahmi for myself, I guess. Having said that, the next point is Kal. So when we look at Kal, we're looking at two different Kals, right? We're looking at Kal, so Kal is time, essentially, right? So we're looking at time in terms of the person's age. So we again have to, tailor the entire diet according to the person's age, because a young kid cannot, or 1-year-old cannot have the same diet as a 20-year-old, right? And the second Kal is because in Desh we're talking about climatic conditions which stay constant, in a particular place, but the weathers keep changing. So we have to have a diet according to weather condition. You cannot have the same things that you have in winters, in the summers. I mean, it doesn't work like that. What you're having in the monsoon cannot be copied and had in the autumn or in the spring for that matter.
So what is that one thing that you would say we should have when we have Mumbai monsoons?
Okay, so that we can, I'll come to that.
Okay.
Right? So when we talk about Kal, no, there is something in Ayurveda which we call as Rutucharya.
Yeah.
Rutucharya is basically what kind of a regimen, what kind of a diet, what kind of lifestyle you should follow according to every season. And then in between the seasons, there's a 15-day Rutu Sandhi, which is where seasons change and people fall sick because there's something very specific you need to do in every Rutu Sandhi. And when you don't do that, the chances of you falling sick is higher because your immune system is compromised. Right? So it's very simple. These things you can actually observe on your own body, and you'll realize all these things make sense.
Sure.
Right? So again, Ritu Sandhi and Ritucharya is what we normally have to understand. Coming to the question of what should we do currently in the monsoons. So monsoons is when Vata increases to the maximum. So you'll have patients who will have either neurological diseases that will increase at this time, or people who just have a gas and a lot of acid reflux, a lot of GERD, a lot of breathing discomfort, a lot of sleep problems,
Insomnia.
a lot of insecurities, anxieties, nervousness, fear, palpitation, depressions, because these are essentially Vata problems. Right?
Okay.
So you'll have all these Vata problems increasing. You'll have people who have black discolorations of the skin coming in right now. And again, I can keep going on and on, but let me just stop the list right now. But Vata problems increase in this time. And the simplest thing to counter the Vata problems is to avoid things that are very drying in nature.
Okay.
Dry food. So don't have these powders. Don't have all these sukha nashtas. So I know people have these ajwain and this methi and all these powders. Just stop. Not in this season.
Okay.
In this season, you lubricate your body. You counter the Vata. Right? Also, what do you lubricate it with? Do you lubricate it with something that is cooling or something that is a little hot?
Mm-hmm.
Hot. Because Vata is very cooling in nature. So you don't use coconut oil. You would rather use till oil, sesame oil, or mustard oil.
Right.
Yeah, mustard is a little more hotter, but if your body is very kapha-ish or very vatish, then you can probably go get away with it.
Okay.
Right? So then again, you need to follow a diet, you need to follow a lifestyle, you need to you need to give respect to Kal, and you need to understand how you need to live with it. Again, this is a very vague example. I mean, it's very specific when we come to exactly what we need to do. But I don't want to give very specific examples because everyone, I don't want them to just follow it, because then Prakriti and all also have to be taken into account. Imagine a Pitta person starts having a massage with a mustard oil problem. I mean, that's an entire other problem on by themselves. So again, I consciously trying to refrain from not answering that question and yet trying to answer that question.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a little of me walking on the razor's edge.
Diplomacy.
Diplomacy, I'm trying to just look out for the people who are listening to this conversation. I don't want them to fall sick on my accord. I don't want that karma to come on to me. Having said that,
and let's come down to the most important thing, Doc, that a lot of our disease component is coming from our food, right? So most of our lifestyle diseases, most of how we feel on an everyday basis can be changed with how we eat on an everyday basis, right? I mean, but nobody's focusing on the Anna. In the Annamaya kosha, people really, they eat today, people are not eating for nutrition value, they're eating for taste, they're eating for hunger. I mean, they're eating at whatever time of the day. So Kal ka to koi bhi respect nahi ho raha hai. People are eating at 2 and 3 with Swiggy and Zomato delivering at that time. So nobody's following the circadian rhythm. There's really no, everything that you're talking about is in every way being completely nullified and broken, and that's why we get to see so much of disease. But do you think if we apply these Ayurveda principles that you're talking about, putting in all these 6-7 things that you've said and the others that you want to say, how much of it is actually doable? देखो हम लोग ने तो we are well into our mid age. We've lived our life and we are bearing the consequences of how we've lived in our 20s and 30s. Is how we live in our 70s, 40s and 50s. But the kids of today, how many of them are actually following the circadian rhythm? How many of them are listening to any of these things that you're saying? So how can we make this a little more easier and get them to follow? Because we have a whole generation of young Indians who are going to take on the world, and if they're going to be with lifestyle disease. So of course we have with us great proponent on mental health. She'll be talking to us about, because there is a great relation between mental health and what a person's consuming and eating. Our next conversation is on that. But how can we make this all easy and not make it too heavy and complicated? What is the simple thing that we can tell that these 5 points you stick to and you will stay away from lifestyle disease?
I think there were a lot of questions here.
Yeah.
I'd like to start by answering a lot of them, but I think a lot of answers might come by the time that we end this entire thing. You know, Nitika, when you were born, you were 3 kilos, I guess.
Yeah.
3.5 kilos. And today that you've grown into such a,
Old
such a big.
woman.
You're like the media, you're putting words in the mouth. No, but now that you've grown into such a big, tall girl, and I don't mean it in the cosmetic sense, it says that what has gone into your system that has made you this big? From 3 kilos that you've gone into becoming a full-sized adult. The only thing you've done is you've consumed food.
Yeah.
And you've had water.
Yeah.
Right? So whatever has gone into you has made you.
Absolutely.
And your cells constantly die and new cells are being formed.
Yes.
So there is a soft reset that happens, there is a hard reset that happens, where your tissues will keep changing, your cells will keep changing. Whatever you consume eventually makes what you are.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just make what you are physically, it also makes what you are mentally. Allopathic science I can't trust, because till the 1970s they said the body and the mind have no relation. Today they're coming and telling me 76% of all diseases are psychosomatic. So if my grandfather believed allopathy, he would have been an idiot. And if you believe in allopathy, then your grandkids will call you an idiot. I mean, I don't understand.
Yeah. Because
it's so much, it's in such big flux. I'm sure we're in a better place than what you were in the 1970s.
True.
But I still can't guarantee that we're in the place where we need to be.
True.
So all of these things are human experimentations where you've been experimented on. If they're succeeding, that's fine. If not succeeding, what can you do about it? Right? I believe we should stick to what is tried and tested.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have a lot of other pathies that are coming in that are mimicking Ayurveda in many ways, like naturopathy, like another pathy that try to mimic Ayurveda in a lot of ways. And because they don't call itself Ayurveda and don't associate with India, then they become a little more acceptable, because we're all somehow in this secular mood a lot of these times. So we don't understand the science for its science. We look at the finger that's pointing towards the science.
Mm-hmm.
And the finger is crooked, then the science is supposed to be crooked.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what is happening, what I'm seeing. That is the first answer to the question. The second answer is you're trying to get out of me a shortcut which kids can follow and which kids can implement. That is easy for them to maintain a good this thing. I believe there is no such shortcut. And people who are trying to find such shortcut will end up in vain. There is no shortcut to taking care of your body.
Mm-hmm.
There is no shortcut to understanding your body.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no shortcut to following it with discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Discipline cannot bring shortcuts. Nowadays, kids that I'm finding really love to have instantaneous
gratification.
Instantaneous gratification, and they need results quickly. I feel that is very concerning, not just in the health sphere but in every sphere.
Yeah.
If you don't have patience, if you don't have discipline, you could have been born in the 1600s or in the 2300s, which is 300 years in the future. You will suffer. Modern technology has advanced so much, and all of that has been pounded in our head. Biologically, not one thing has changed.
Absolutely.
You still take 9 months to get that baby, you like it or not. You could have any Microsoft Google chips in your body. Nothing will change. So all of this technology that has been set in your brain. I have had a patient right now who said, I'm just waiting for some new technology to cure my son. I said, you're crazy. What are you waiting for? In the biological sphere, all of these technologies just sound good on paper. The only thing you can do is, instead of a human hand, you can have a robotic hand cutting you. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Well said, yeah.
So much technology. What has changed in your biology? Tell me one thing that's changed in your biology. Only things that are externally can be put. You could put a better quality rod in your hand if your hand breaks.
Yeah.
That's it. You could put a better quality teeth if your teeth break.
Mm-hmm.
External. What biological functional changes can happen?
Well, we're moving towards, we're talking of regenerative biology, where we're talking of growing stem cells and growing, I know there's been teeth grown in hamsters, so we're looking at it that probably
there have been hearts grown in pigs.
Yeah.
In terms of stem cell research.
Yeah.
Or what we call as OJ.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is pluripotent and totipotent. There are two types of OJ in the body. So you can extract the OJ and you can do that. So as I said, in terms of surgical aspects, you are okay.
Yeah.
But in terms of conservative treatment or medical treatment, there is nothing. Because the whole focus, anyways, we're shifting from the diet aspect. We could talk about this. The whole focus, in fact, you look at in Hutchinson's book on medicine, you'll find they literally write it's conserving and preserving you until nature comes and cures.
Yeah.
And what if nature doesn't cure? Let's say diabetes, nature doesn't cure, you take medicines for life. Thyroid, nature doesn't cure, you take medicines for life. All allopathic medicines are mere symptomatic suppressants until nature comes and cures. You think your crocin is or paracetamol is curing your fever?
No,
It's doing nothing of the sort. You think a painkiller is curing your inflammation? It's doing nothing of the sort.
Yeah.
All it does is just gives you relief until nature comes and
symptomatic
cures.
relief.
Everything is symptomatic relief, right? Because they don't go to the root, they don't bother. Today I have a patient, as I said last time also I have given the same example, who's not, you know, the way the whole system is made is to just fool you. Today a patient comes and tells you, I'll give a very simple example, that let's say he has insomnia. He goes to a doctor and says, doctor, why do I have insomnia? You know what the doctor tells him?
Take Restil 0.25
No.
milligrams.
Okay, fair enough. That's the solution. But I'll give you a little more vivid answer. He'll say that, you know what, melatonin is not being produced chemically in your brain, and which is why you're having this kind of a problem. So the solution is, let's take melatonin that is externally produced, and when you take it, you'll fall asleep easily. The patient takes it, falls asleep easily. Did he actually answer the question of why am I not getting sleep, or did he answer the question of how am I not getting sleep? Did he tell you the cause, or did he tell you the process?
None.
He told you the process. कि ये हो रहा है, ये हो रहा है, ये हो रहा है, ये हो रहा है, ब्रेन में ये केमिकल आ रहा है, वहां से ये रिसेप्टर है, वहां ये इफेक्टर है, और फिर आपको नींद नहीं आ रही है. अरे ये तो कैसे हो रहा है बता रहा है. मेरा क्वेश्चन है क्यों हो रहा है, और मेलेटोनिन खाने से वो क्यों जाएगा. मेरी बीवी घर छोड़ के भाग गई इसलिए मुझे नींद नहीं आ रही है. Will that melatonin get my wife back? You simply understand, when you don't even bother finding out the root cause, how will you bother treating the root cause?
Absolutely. This is where Swast comes in. We're talking to doctors like you, not like you. We're talking to allopaths also, who very well give us the reason क्यों कर रहे हैं वो. And this is where we come in, that I think the first thing that we as allopathic practitioners really need to look into is better history taking. Better history taking, because most of our answers lie in that, rather than a detailed blood work where we begin to treat the reports and not the individual.
Absolutely. We have severely digressed from diet.
But see, it is all interrelated. Diet is the crux, like you said. I am who I am, and we each are who we are because of what we have consumed, the food that we have consumed. But there is every day a new, a new trending diet that comes on. Like, you can go on to a gluten-free diet, or you go into this. Now there is no respect, there's no understanding, and it becomes a thing. When it becomes viral, or it becomes something that everybody is doing, suddenly everybody wants to do that diet. They don't look into your vata, pitta, nothing. No prakriti, no.
I will answer that question with simply one line.
Yeah.
We are human beings.
Yeah.
We have intelligence.
Yeah.
And we have a free will.
Yeah.
If people want to suffer, they have all the rights to suffer.
Mm-hmm.
None of us can stop them.
Right.
If they want to behave in a herd mentality and not use the intelligence given by God to them,
yes,
they can feel free to. But if there are a few human beings here who do want to use the intelligence that has been offered to them,
mm-hmm,
they will very quickly and very soon realize that all of these things are absolute nonsense, and that they will realize not only by the first standard that a diet given to someone else is working and given to me is not working, which means that fundamentally I am different from that person, which means a shotgun method where it worked for someone may or may not work for me and may cause problems to me. This much thought even a small kid can have. You don't need to be a grown adult to have this much thought. And if people don't want to think so much, then I feel they deserve their problems, because you have the right to suffer. If you are stupid, then you will have stupid things happening to you. I can't come and help that. No one can. But if you are intelligent, we can show you the way. We can guide.
So tell me, gluten, is it such a bad thing for human consumption.
Absolutely not. The problem is not gluten. The problem is our capacity to digest gluten. As I said, we're in Maharashtra. Here we have wheat. South you can't. It becomes a problem. A few people can. Most people can't.
So
you have to realize that again, diet is digestion, then nutrition. If it there was because most people don't understand digestion. So I always kid around with my nutritionist friends that why do we even grow food? We should just have rocks. They have the maximum amount of minerals and nutrients you want. Just break up a rock and eat it. Because anyways you guys don't look at digestion. You will give a person saying, ye khao, itna protein khao, itna protein khao. Are dekho, is he able to digest that protein? You anyways don't look at it. And so you might as well feed rocks. No, you're solving the whole world's health food crisis. You don't need to grow food. You don't need farmers. You go to the mountains and start eating soil.
It's not palatable.
It's simple.
Okay. Okay, now we are digressing. We're moving to rocks.
Prakriti, Karan, Sanyog, Rashi, Desh, Kal. The next one, again in Kal, I forgot to mention time of the day. Now that is also very important, where you need to eat at a particular time of the day because your gastric juices are being produced at one particular time of the day, and that needs to be pretty constant daily if you want the best results. You can't just have lunch at 11 a.m. and then 3 a.m. and then 11 a.m. 3 p.m. and then the next day at 1 p.m. and then it needs to be very disciplined.
Yes, food should be disciplined.
Food should be disciplined, not just what you take, but when you take it.
And how you take it also, right? You should sit and eat rather than...
And that is when the next point is. So that is Upayukta. Upayukta is just what you're allergic to and what is suitable to you. And Upayuk Sanstha is then how you consume your food.
Yeah.
So it has to be a little warm. It shouldn't be cold food. Yeah. Ushnam Snigdham. It has to be a little lubricated. It shouldn't be very dry, very difficult to swallow. Matravat, which means that everything has to be, the achar cannot be like a sabzi and a sabzi cannot be like an achar. Yeah. Right? So like Matravat, the portions of every individual things also have to be correct. And in Ayurveda, we say that food has to be Shad Rasatmak, which means all 6 rasas, whether it is sweet, salty, sour, astringent, bitter or pungent. All of these things need to be incorporated in your food in the right balance according to the Prakriti and according to your Vikruti, which is your current problem that you may have. Right? So that has to be there. So Ushnam Snigdham Matravat, then Nati Drutam Nati Vilambitam, which means it should not be had very quickly, neither should it be had very slowly. Now these seem very basic, but yet I'm seeing in the clinic people just eat like ta. And some people just watch TV and they just enjoy their meal for an hour and a half. It's ridiculous. How are you going to expect it to be digested? Right? Also when it comes to quantity, in the Rashi point I would have wanted to add this, is in Ayurveda the ideal way to have food is you should have food until half your stomach is full. 1/4 should be filled with liquids like either a dal or something that you've taken with your food, just a little bit of water. And 1/4 should be empty, and that gives proper churning. And a lot of people also make the mistake that they think water should not be taken during their meals. In Ayurveda, it is clearly mentioned water should be had along with your meals. Half a glass to 1 glass of water, or it could be chas, or it could be sol kadhi, or it could be from wherever you come. Right? You'll always find that a thali and some liquid is served to you.
Yeah. So that is fine, right? Because
that should be done.
There was a new trend that water should be had half an hour before food.
Thank Times of India for this, because they anyways contradict themselves every 2 months.
Yeah.
But
they have to give new grub, new
food, new thing, some new trend.
Yeah, so suddenly because they were saying that water kind of neutralizes the digestive juices if you're having it along with your food, so you shouldn't keep your water glass. And
no, so that's absolute bullshit. Yeah.
Okay.
So you should always have water along with your meals in a sipping fashion.
Yeah.
Right? You should not eat too fast. You should not eat too slow. Yeah. Or everything that I'm saying, I can quote from Charak Samhita, the founder of Ayurveda. So and there's nothing that I have made up here. I'm simply a parrot. Yeah. I'm just simply memorizing those things and taking all the credit after speaking with you. Having said that, so Upayuk Sanstha, you should also eat without laughing or without talking and with full concentration. It's very important.
With gratitude.
You're concentrating on your meal. You're chewing it well. All of these, the mastication process has to be proper. All of these things is very important. Yeah. So that is Upayuk Sanstha. So I think I've covered in very, very small brief.
Everything. This has been very, very informative. And I think it'll make us relook at, I think everything is being done wrong, like point 1 to point 9 that you covered. Everything has been very blatantly, we are really, it's like we are inviting disease. We are inviting some kind of a issue or problem with us. And I always say this, that it's not what, you know, the ease of today is that you have a medicine to relieve every symptom right away. Just the fact
I
that
love that you use the word relieve and not cure.
yeah, of course we know this, right? To relieve the symptom, and the way antacids are being prescribed left, right, and center.
You know what antacids are? If you have 2 minutes, I'll talk on antacids.
Yeah.
I love this. Okay, so let's talk on antacids, because acidity is something that I have a lot of patients of acidity, and that's a very common.
That I think every house has someone who's suffering from indigestion
Yeah.
or acidity.
So I'll give you a very simple understanding. Okay, so most of the patients that come to me with acidity, they need to hear this. I have a 6-minute video, I think, on YouTube explaining this, but I'll do it here. So your body is producing some sort of an acid.
Yeah.
This acid is responsible for digesting food.
Yes.
I'll keep it very simple.
Yeah.
Let's call this good acid.
Hmm.
Okay. This is responsible for breaking down our food and digesting it. Very simple. Now, whenever you have an indigestion and whenever something is lying in the body, it ferments.
Right.
So whenever something ferments, it's acidic. So let's call that bad acid.
Yeah.
Because that acid is never going to help you digest food. Very simple. Now, what essentially happens is that the overall acid level increases in the body, because you already have the good acid that is being produced, and the fermented part that is indigestion because of either a wrong food choice
or eating too much,
or
the first is not being
overeating,
cleared out.
or staying hungry for a long time and then suddenly eating. Whatever reason, you have some indigestion. Everyone has it in their life. That causes bad acid and good acid. So the overall acidity level is above what your body can take. Hence you have acidity. Very simple. Okay. So now what do people do? The first thing they will do is they'll have thanda pani or thanda doodh. That is the first go-to. Or they'll have the ice creams, the vanilla ice creams.
Ice creams,
These
yes.
are the first go-tos. So what you're doing here is you're giving more dairy in things that are khatta. Very simple.
Right.
What happens when you put khatta things in milk?
It'll
Fermented things in milk. You take something fermented, take dahi and put it in milk. What will happen in a while?
Of course, it'll curdle.
Precisely. So the more acid is produced. Clear?
Yeah.
Let's move on. And the second thing they do, or let's say the second thing I forgot, was they have a lot of water. They drink a lot of water, like cut, you know, like fish. Now what will happen is that you've really diluted all your digestive fluids, and now when you eat food, that is again going to be not digested very well, and that will again lead to where we started off with
indigestion.
Okay. The second thing people do is they will dilute their acid. I mean, they've already diluted their acid with water. They will neutralize their acid. So they'll have these enos, the digenes, the whatnots, right?
Pudin hara.
The pudin haras and all of that, or the whole shebang. What happens there is that eno doesn't know that it has to dilute, that it has to neutralize the bad acid. It neutralizes everything. Feels so good. 6 seconds. Okay. Now that you've neutralized everything, you have no acid to digest your food. So now that you eat, it's again going to cause indigestion, which will again cause acidity. You're back to square one. Okay. Now the next line of treatment is you take what else? Okay. So let's say antac and the pandies and the omes and all of that. You know what they do?
An empty stomach. First thing.
That's great. So you know what happens when you do that? What it does? It stops the production of good acid. You know what it does? It stops the production of good acid. So there is no good acid being produced in order to digest your next meal. So which is why you've seen people who've been on this for life. Jeb mein hota hai. 1 pandy every morning, 2 pandies, 1 omes. Because you're never solving the problem, you're just relieving it for the next meal. So aram karte jao, and ilaj is on the other corner. All you had to do was simply bite the bullet, take something that would digest the meal for you, clear the system up, and you'll never need to take any of this for the rest of the day.
What is this something?
It depends. You can simply take dry ginger powder. Take 1 or 2 spoons every day. Let your acidity increase for a while. Sahn karo. Thoda din takleef hoga, but you will digest all your food. Once the indigestion goes away, you're done. Problem solved. Never take it for life.
But this is the thing, crux here now, doc, is किसी को सहन कुछ करना नहीं है. Everybody wants snap at the finger ilaj. You got a symptom, it should be relieved in the next 20 minutes max.
As I say, right to suffer. You have a right to suffer. Please suffer.
So
who can stop you? If someone wants to jump from a building, who can stop them? You can stop them for a while, but how can you stop them? If you want to stab yourself in the stomach, despite knowing all this and despite being an intelligent person, because nowadays dumbing yourself down is the new in thing. Right? So if you want to dumb yourself down, then why should I make the effort to stop you? But if you want help, you want to know all the things, then we will always stand with you. Because that is our dharma.
Yeah.
And dharma doesn't mean religion, it means duty.
Absolutely. So you had some very interesting conversation with Dr. Manan, who's broken down myths and also spoken to us about Ahar, Vihar, Achar, Vichar. And next time we will talk on Vyavahar, Doctor. So thank you so much for lighting up the room and the conversation with, completely myth-busting conversation. And it's always such a pleasure to have you at Studio Aesthetic. And we will have you back for some more very, very interesting conversation.
Sure,
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.